We're in the middle of a climate crisis. 2024 was the hottest calendar year on record. We're seeing record-breaking weather events across the entirety of the planet at every turn. And honestly, I report on the weather a lot, and it's a constant stream of floods and fires and storms and heat waves and heat events. But this is not that story. This is a channel about climate solutions. And you might be asking yourself, I know you're asking yourself, what is a climate solution? The answer to the question, is there a solution to the climate crisis, is both simple and complex. This is because there is a lot of nuance to the answer. Obviously, it's a giant problem. The truth is climate solutions exist, and there is a very clear path forward to make the planet greener, cleaner, and to curb and stop carbon emissions. Let's start with the problem. Since the Industrial Revolution, humans have added over 2.4 trillion tons of CO2 to the atmosphere. That's a lot. The 10 warmest years on record have occurred since 2010, and climate disasters caused 380 billion USD in damage globally in just 2023 alone. Now, climate change could push up to 132 million people into poverty by 2030, according to the World Bank, and we continue to emit CO2 into the atmosphere. There's no silver bullet, but there is a silver toolbox. So let's take a look at what's actually working so far and the things that have been proven. First, I wanted to define a climate solution. A climate solution is any action that reduces greenhouse gas emissions, helps us adapt to the changes that are already underway in the world, and ideally does both. Some solutions are high-tech, like carbon capture. Others are centuries old, like crop rotation or indigenous fire stewardship. Solutions can be about energy, but they can also be about food waste in cities and buildings and how we tell stories. And policy is key. You can have the best tech in the world, but it won't scale without the right laws and leadership. Energy is the largest driver of emissions, accounting for roughly 73% of global greenhouse gases. But there is good news on that front. Renewables supplied 30% of global electricity in 2023. That's a record high. Solar power is now the cheapest electricity in history, according to the International Energy Agency, and solar and wind are now cheaper than fossil fuels in most of the world. Albania, Bhutan, Nepal, Paraguay, Iceland, Ethiopia, and the Democratic Republic of Congo generate 100% of their energy renewably. Wow! And in Canada, over 80% of electricity comes from non-emitting sources. And even places like Alberta and Saskatchewan are investing in things like wind and solar. According to Project Drawdown, shifting to renewables could reduce emissions by over 90 billion metric tons between now and 2050. Nature is one of our greatest allies. Forests absorb about 7.6 billion metric tons of CO2 every year. That's roughly 20% of human emissions. Regenerative agriculture could result in a total reduction of 15 to 23 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent from sequestration and reduced emissions by 2050. That's a huge amount. Peatlands cover about 3% of the Earth's surface, and they store twice as much carbon as the world's forests. So investing in peatland conservation is an amazing nature-based solution. According to Conservation International, nature-based solutions could deliver 1/3 of the emission reductions needed to keep warming below 2 degrees as we head forward into the future. I mean, nature is cool. And luckily on this climate road trip, we are able to see a lot of really cool nature-based solutions and a lot of cool places along the way. We're also seeing a wave of climate innovation and tech. Direct air capture removes CO2 directly from the atmosphere. Isn't that pretty cool? We emit it, we can pull it back out. The world's largest DAC plant is in Iceland, and it captures about 4,000 metric tons per year. And larger plants are actually coming online in the near future. Methane sensors, satellite monitoring, and AI now help to detect leaks in oil and gas systems, which does help to cut emissions from the second most potent greenhouse gas. And over 10 million electric vehicles, or EVs, were sold globally in 2023. That was a 35% increase from the year before. And the climate tech market is booming, projected to reach 13 trillion USD by 2030. 13 trillion. Top-down action matters too. The Paris Agreement aims to keep global warming well below 2 degrees, with the stretch goal of 1.5 degrees. And that doesn't mean we give up on 1.5 and go for 2. We want to stay below that 1.5. 195 countries have joined, and 140 have net zero targets. The EU Green Deal includes climate neutrality by 2050, carbon pricing, and border carbon tariffs. I know we don't like to hear the word tariffs right now. Carbon markets, green finance, and climate justice frameworks are now shaping how we govern economies. Now you might wonder, what can I actually do to make a difference? Here's what the data says. Switching to a plant-based diet can reduce your food-related emissions by up to 73%. I want you to know though, you don't have to go fully meat-free. Even one day a week does lead to a large difference. Retrofitting your home, joining local climate groups, and divesting your money from fossil fuel multiplies impacts. There are a lot of little things that we can do and a lot of action we can take in our larger communities or homes. One of the best things you can do is actually just talk about climate solutions. That helps normalize action and inspire others. I mean, that's a huge part of why we're doing what we're doing here on Climate Solutions Road Trip.